Never fear of missing out by clicking that subscribe button and becoming another member of the Babylonian family. Hey there Babylonians, my name is Songs of Raids and you said it, I listened. We're going to make some kind of console build of the Instagib build that I brought out the other week, and I had a lot of fun doing this, but I am primarily a PC player nowadays and I had a lot of difficulty using the controller. Now keep in mind that I have had about half an hour with the use of the controller. I set up the build, I knew exactly what I wanted to go for, and then I just plugged in a controller, tried one on CT14, realised I can do it, and then went into CT15, and this is basically the footage that came from this. Now I tried it two different ways. I'm going to show both and I'm going to show the pros and the cons. It is up to you to then decide which one's best for you, and well, it's up to you to be able to take it further than that. So I do recommend that you stick around to the end of the video because I do have an interesting announcement that's going to be to do with this build, and it may be beneficial to you. If you want, you can just skip across to there, but I would recommend watching this, see where I've gone, and then listen to the announcement. So what was my plan when it came to being asked to be able to make a console version of this build? Because quite a few of you enjoyed the build, you just weren't able to have the aim that was to nail the critical shots, to be able to have the precision, to be able to actually follow it and be able to melt those alphas as quickly as possible. Well, the two main challenges we have are the rifle builds have very low ammo ammo pools in their actual magazine, which kind of compounds the fact that you need the precision. If you don't have the precision, you're going to struggle quite massively with this. So it was a case of I need to be able to kind of freeze enemies in place to be able to make it easier so I have the time to be able to line up the shot. So what I went with was to try and find a freeze kind of build that was also top tree as well, to be able to have that firepower behind it, to be able to have the damage, and also went into that sniper class node. So here's the idea of what I've gone for with the build, and as you can see, it's a bit unorthodox because of how it's done. I've started with top tree to be able to like reduce the long range damage so I can have that damage as quickly as possible, and then I've kind of gone like into the middle so I can deal extra damage to enemies afflicted with freeze, and it also gives me a free revive just in case that I do fall into a bit of trouble. But the idea is that I give myself 40% bonus firepower, I give myself 40% bonus anomaly. I have that revive just in case, and then I have a lot of freeze that's behind me to be able to inflict as much damage as possible. And you'll see in the builds that I'm going for 2 cryo turrets, and I've gone for cold snap so I can inflict as much freeze as physically possible, and things should not be moving unless I'm dealing with like brood mothers or alpha Perforos that have got their absorbing skin on. So I was very happy with the class tree, but when it came to the actual shooting part, that's where I kind of struggled. So in the first video that you've got in the background, I've gone for a Twisted Mercy rifle, and the reason why I did this is because the second mod that this rolls with is critical shots do not consume ammo. So this is quite nice to have on the gun, especially when we pair this with Embalmer's Rage. Now, the idea is freeze, or use your turrets, or be able to use your cold snap, freeze like one of the littler enemies, kind of like one of the little boys, kill that one off as quickly as possible. You should be able to one-hit them with this build, which is quite nice, and then as soon as you've got that, you're then loaded up to be able to fire as many shots as you can with Embalmer's Rage for 5 seconds, all of them critical shots. Why this is quite nice is because we're going for a blighted rounds as well. We can't increase the clip size from 8, so it is very limited in itself. So how I would roll with this is you can use your blighted rounds to be able to inflict some damage, get your ammo down to like maybe like 3 or 4 shots, activate like cold snap or have your cryo turrets, and then focus one of the smaller guys that have been frozen. Instantly kill that one. You've now got critical shots. Your critical shots do not consume your ammo that's in your thing, but then more kills that you get, as you'll see in the build, will actually replenish your ammo back to full. And then essentially it's a nice little loop that way, and it actually does keep your ammo quite nicely full. But we do have a backup, which is the Molten Idola fixed with the grand opening mod as like a fallback, and then the reason we haven't increased the magazine size, so now it is actually genuinely a one-shot rifle, so every single shot that we're going to be firing is activating that grand opening, which when freeze is on an enemy, with how much we've got into additional damage to frozen enemies, is massive. You could technically do, without a critical shot, you can technically do 1 million damage between the bullet and the mod activating at the same time, which is very, very nice and is a really reliable weapon to fall back on. And because it's grand opening, it has a small area of effect as well. So what's special about the armor mods now? So obviously we've looked at the weapons, we know what we're using for this first build. What is it that we're commonly using for the actual armor mods, because this is where it kind of makes and breaks it. So we've gone for a 3-piece into the Borealis Monarch, and this bit essentially will make this build better once that patch goes live, where the extra 90% to frozen enemies and the extra critical damage for all party members will actually activate properly, which is great. But for now, we're dealing with it for the time being, and as it currently goes, I've gone for the headgear, so we get 2 turrets where they can be placed before cooldown for our cryo turret. This allows more freezing power, and it allows them to potentially target 2 different enemies and be able to keep them frozen in place, which is great. I've gone for Euthanizer because we are inflicting a little bit of toxic damage when it comes to our blighted rounds, so this just makes it a little bit easier for us to be able to get some of those killing shots, especially on follow-up shots. Going for the chest piece, always Icicle Storm, because and this is especially important for this build because we need some crowd control. If we get into a problem, if we get absolutely bum rushed by loads of little boys, we need to activate our Cold Snap, and with one single bullet we activate our critical shots, and we also detonate pretty much every single one that's in front of them, which is great. I've gone for Bloodlust on this, so it increases our firepower when we get some killing shots, and this stacks, well, the 17.5k stacks up to 3 times, which is very, very nice to be able to get those extra damage. As for our waistcloth, we've gone for replacing the tier 3 mod with Shatter, so we deal an extra 25% more damage to enemies inflicted by freeze, which I think is kind of crucial for how we're going for this build, and also Freezing Boost, which comes as standards, where we deal another 15% on top of that to frozen enemies, which is huge. As for the gloves, I went for a Gauntlets of the Cannonball because I do feel like Captain Hunter is quite necessary. Elites are going to be causing you the most grief when it comes to this build, so having an extra 25% damage to Elites just as standard is huge. So we get nice firepower, cooldown reduction, and skills life leech bonus just as standard just for using the gloves. So these aren't a bad choice. You can obviously replace these for anything that's purple, but I think that's a good shout. I think that's probably the best. So I've also put Sharp Eye on there, so we get even more firepower as we kill more enemies, which is pretty nice because obviously we're going for more damage. We're hoping to essentially just get 1 shot, 1 kill. And then for the boots, I've just gone for a standard where we increase our critical damage by 15%, and then while the skill is active with blighted rounds, every single kill that we get gives us 30% of our bullets back. It's important that you use this instead of Toxic Lead, because there are several times that you'll be killing enemies and you won't even have chance to inflict toxic, so this is probably the best way to go about it. Now obviously if you've listened to the Instagib build, that's not going to be anything new. So the main challenges that I faced with this is that even when it comes to Colosseum and Beast kind of enemies, I was doing quite well when it came to dealing with the smaller ones. When it was they're focused into a corridor, I was doing quite well. But when it came to the second room with the Broodmother, for some reason, I still have no idea why this is the case, I was genuinely struggling to be able to hit the Broodmother at times. It's almost like there's like a small box where bullets just seem to pass straight through, and I honestly cannot figure out why that is the case. It looks like genuine hits, and the bullet just seems to travel through, no damage gets inflicted. But if we take that out, the build does really, really well for dealing with enemies coming towards you, and as long as you're not having to panic. There's a little bit of aim assist. I don't feel like there's enough in the game to be able to help you out to be able to consistently do those CT15, so I can kind of understand why some console players would actually be struggling unless you're going for anomaly builds, but firepower builds are genuinely difficult, and I struggled to the best of my ability. I haven't tried my ultimate firepower build yet, just to be able to see if it is just genuinely controller, but I have a feeling that is actually going to be the case because that kind of build relies heavily on getting critical shots. So my thought process behind this was as much freeze as possible, deal as much damage to enemies that are frozen, and then hopefully while they're frozen I can then line up the shot to be able to get those critical shots. Now in practice it didn't really kind of work out that way. It does when you've got Cold Snap. When you've got Cold Snap, you have, because of the radius that it covers, it's massive, and you have the time. You don't have anything else to worry about. You don't have to worry about the targeting for the AI of the cryo turret. You're fine. You're basically covered. But unfortunately, that only lasts for a few seconds, and then you have to wait up to 20 seconds for that to be able to recharge again. So if there was a way to be able to make Cold Snap like quicker to be able to recharge like massively, then yes, I would 100% go with this, and it's quite a lot of fun. But it did struggle when it comes to elites, and it's a bit of a shame. But that being said, it did keep up the blighted rounds. It did keep up the firepower as well. It just, because we didn't have Dark Sacrifice on the gun, we weren't hitting over 1 million consistently per shot. So that's kind of where the second build came in. Now the second build was really kind of where I started from. This was basically taking what the Instagib was about, just applying a little bit of freeze and just seeing if it would actually work out. Now it ended up suffering a little bit more compared to the first one. The reason why is that you couldn't consistently replenish your bullets. 8 bullets was quite nasty. The fact that we didn't have something where critical shots didn't consume ammo, and we didn't have anything to consistently cause the critical shots, meant that blighted rounds was going to be on cooldown a lot more, and then you had to fall back onto your Molten Idola with Grand Opening. It was a lot of fun. When you do hit those critical shots, the damage is massive. We are talking basically in line of that with the Instagib build, and you will see some of the elites actually get demolished with this build. But it is very dependent on blighted rounds, it is very dependent on you getting those killing shots, and it is very dependent on your critical shots. So I would say that if you are confident with your aim, build 2 is going to be better. But if you're struggling with your aim a little bit, then build 1 is going to be the preferable one because of how much freeze is out there, and it does allow you to keep your blighted rounds going a little bit longer, as long as you're still doing a little bit of management, a little bit of conservation with your ammo. But yeah, I would say that's pretty good. So what makes the Rarog's Gaze an even better gun to use, so what makes build 2 a little bit higher in the DPS, is the fact that the overclocked capstone increases your firepower by 40% and increases your anomaly power by 40%. Because the Rarog's Gaze goes into anomaly enhancement, so we get even more firepower based on your anomaly power. Essentially we're getting 40% firepower, and then we're getting 40% anomaly power onto your gun, but then 30% of your total anomaly power then gets fed back into your firepower, so you get even more than 40%, which is a very nice boost. It's a very nice kind of synergy with the build, but like I said, this build is very reliant on the fact that you can hit your critical shots. It's very reliant so you can get on your kills, and you will find that blighted rounds will go down more often than not. It's at this point it kind of leads me on to the announcement I was going to make, and this is the fact that I can't recommend this build to you. And the reason why I can't is because I wasn't able to hit a gold on CT15 with this. Now obviously I could mess about with it a little bit more, but I did these 2 runs you can see here. I did 1 more as well on another beast level, and every single one was consistently just over a minute away from hitting gold on CT15. Now I don't think it's a bad time by any means, and considering what this build was originally made for, I still don't think it's bad at all. It is a lot of fun to play. It does test your controller skill, but I can't recommend it for high tier play, and I can't recommend it as any kind of meta. Now will this event be any better once the Borealis Monarch gets fixed? Potentially. If it does, then obviously the extra damage to the Frozen means that the Molten Idola will still be doing massive amounts of damage, but the Rarog's Gaze will then easily hit for an extra million, I assume, because looking at the figures. So that will be massive, which means you'll be one-shotting quite a lot in this game. But then if you go for the Twisted Mercy, you'll then be consistently hitting even more damage. You could potentially be hitting anywhere up to 1 million per hit, obviously when you get Embalmer's Rage going, so that could be nice. It's a nice consistency boost and would probably help to be able to run this a little bit quicker. But I do feel like it falls short because you're not hitting consistent criticals, because you don't have Dark Sacrifice on the gun if you go for the Twisted Mercy, and because you don't have a reliable way to keep your Blighted Rounds up on the Rarok's Gaze. It's almost like there should be some kind of middle ground in there. So the announcement is that if you join the Discord server and you take this build, and you can use either of the guns, and you're a controller player, and you can show me some kind of footage, like a whole run. I need to see like the whole build. I need to make sure it's not modded or anything like that. If you're able to show me that you can do a CT15, you can choose any level you want. The only one I would say is not Scorchlands, because Scorchlands has a massive it's probably one of the most lenient levels as possible. So Scorchlands will be left out of that. That's the only kind of thing I will say. But if you can do a gold CT15 with this build solo, and you can show me footage to be able to show you the build, show the class and the class tree and everything, just to be able to show me that that's what you've done, I will quite happily enter you. If there's more than one person, I will quite happily enter you into a draw to be able to win a gift card just from me personally, because I genuinely struggled, and that's my way of saying I'm sorry that I couldn't get you a consistent rifle build, but there are other people that can, and if there's just the one person, then obviously you just win also a standard. But essentially there's one gift card up for grabs, similar to like the subscribe giveaway we're doing, where it's £10, $10, €10, whatever currency is that equivalent in your area. I just need to see some footage, but that means you have to join the Discord, and I will make a separate channel just for you to be able to show that to me. As an added note to that, I will manually go through each of the videos that you send into that Discord channel, and I will pick out the winner. And what my basis for it will be what's the most impressive. It could be damage numbers, it could be accuracy. I'll decide on the day. It's going to be some kind of factor along those lines, and what impresses me enough to be able to then put that out, to suggest that to other members, to say, this is how the rifle build should be done, this is how, essentially, if you have the controller skills, this is how it should look, and I wish you all the best of luck in that. And that pretty much wraps up the console version of the Instagib build that I've managed to put together, that I feel is possibly the most consistent way to be able to do it, but unfortunately I just don't feel like it is meta enough currently to be able to recommend that you actually do go for this. If you're on PC, you will have no problems with the Instagib build, the original. If you're good with controllers, if you're accurate, if you're in FaZe Clan, if you're anything like that, then you'll be absolutely fine with this as well. You can choose between the two, but if you're kind of like one of those people that just picks up a controller like an hour every like 4 days or something like that, that's not as skilled, or is a potato like me when it comes to actually using a controller on this kind of game, then yeah, you're not going to have a good time with this, and I would highly recommend that you pick some kind of anomaly power build just to be able to get you by. So on a finalising note, I will say that the Discord link will be in the description of this video. Get yourselves over there. There will be a channel, like I said, for any kind of entries that people would like to be able to put in. We'll run it for 2 weeks, so I think that's more than enough time. So this video goes live on the 16th of July 2021, and we'll run it to the 30th of July. In fact, we'll run it to the end of the month, so we'll give you the extra day. So the 31st of July 2021, get your entries over to the Discord, become a member, just say hi, come see us over there, and then just put your entries in there, and I will manually go through. I'll pick a winner, and we'll announce it either in a YouTube video or through one of our socials, just to be able to just pick you out as well. And we'll pick you up from the Discord as well, just to let you know. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed the gameplay that's in the background, even if it is a little disappointing that I can't get a gold standard, but I hope you've still enjoyed it anyway. If you did, drop us a like, drop us a subscribe, it means the world. We're nearing that 1,000 subscriber mark, which means we can finally get monetized, which is huge. We never thought we were going to be seeing this in 3 months' time when we started taking on the channel and started actually building it from Outriders. So thank you so much to the Outriders community and all of you that have subscribed already. It really does mean the world to us, and we're genuinely excited to see where we can take it from here. But as always, keep yourself safe, keep yourself well. I'll see you all on the next video.